All right, good afternoon and welcome back everybody to the Go Wellness Practice Accelerator Challenges. I am your host of the evening, Kate Archibald. Along with me, we got our badass team here, Regan Archibald.
Hey.
We got Shawnee. Shawnee, how's it going?
Great.
And we got Annie. Annie, how's it going today?
Yeah, going good. I'm in the middle of a big move, so I'm just sorry about the boxes, everyone.
Annie, any cool announcements we got coming up?
Totally. So I just wanted to remind everybody the session 3 date, so creativity in medicine or Einstein's medicine. Dan's going to be kind of running the strategy and show on this, just on the A to Z patient experience. So everything from, the marketing and patient outreach or potential patient outreach to the day 0, new patient experience, like all the way to enrollment. So it's going to be awesome. We've got a really dope agenda plan. So I'll send it out shortly. And then we just had a great team meeting. We've got some fun things planned for like a summer innovation series. I'll be sending info on that too. So we're just going to give you guys all the goods all summer long. So be ready.
So many cool things coming up. Well, thank you, Annie. And so without further ado, we're going to launch this thing. So this week, we made an announcement a couple weeks ago. Just want to make sure everyone kind of understands the cadence here. Dan's going to be focused on functional blood chemistry, some different lab overviews, things like that. So if you have any cases whatsoever that you need some help with, you got any specifics, send them over. This week, we may not be able to get to them right now, but you can send those in, but we'll make sure in 2 weeks. So we alternate every other week. We're focused on some of the science and the blood chemistry, and then we'll circle back into some different business tactics and strategies there. So Dan, take it away, man.
All right, everybody. Well, today I want to talk a little bit. We've bounced on the subject a few times, and I think it's a can of worms, but I think it's super important to come full circle to glyphosate quite a bit. We've talked about gut bacteria, and I think it's one of the most interesting things, because a lot of times people wonder, what if we're looking at labs, what kind of things would suggest, maybe either through health history or through lab work, of a glyphosate problem, like when you have a real issue. So I do want to talk about that a little bit. So, and then just talking about all the different issues that it creates, and then possibly some of our different interventions that we can get into when it comes to helping pull that out of the body. Regan, I know you've done a lot of stuff, a lot of research on glyphosate. You've presented on it before at some of our Go Wellness events. What would you say is, with everything that you've done, what would you say is the most surprising thing or fact about glyphosate that you've come across?
Man, well, I remember one of my first eLotus webinars that I taught 10 years ago in 2012. I talked about glyphosate, and one of the most shocking things was the amount of glyphosate that was in the soil in 2012. And then if you look at where it is today, I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. But probably the most interesting thing as of late was Stephanie Seneff's work in the glyphosate disruption of cartilage structures. And so if you look at the epidemic of younger people having osteoarthritis, when glyphosate, it basically mimics glycine. And so you don't get the right collagen substrates. And so joints wear out faster, people have more injuries. It's something that we don't talk about a lot, but I think glyphosate is leading to a massive epidemic in inactivity. And so it probably, you look at the contribution of glyphosate to obesity in our country, and we probably understate the damage that it does.
Yeah, I feel like this, how it is like so infiltrated into so many different aspects of health. But also, I remember one of the slides that you put up was about all the different foods it was found in. Like, it was all these snacks that kids eat, like Oreos and candy bars. And I was just like shocked. I'm a huge fan of what Oreo's doing in their product line. But it's shocking that glyphosate was so high in it,
Yeah, and that I was just talking about Oreos to a patient of mine today, and I said, hey, they did a study where they gave rats the option to eat, have cocaine or Oreos, and the rats preferred the Oreos over the cocaine, and it lit up the same pathways in the brain. And so yeah, now there's glyphosate with the addictive issues that we have with all the preservatives in food. The neurotoxins are insane. And now we're adding glyphosate in, and it's great. You can go through the drive-through and you can get your Big Mac, your large Coke, your fries, and you're getting a broad spectrum antibiotic in the version of glyphosate. So.
Tasha said, are you sure it's not because the Oreos taste better than cocaine? It could be, They are
that's
amazing.
a good question, Tasha. I will have to interview the rats. We didn't actually, the questionnaires was not clear on that one.
Yeah.
Was it the taste preference or?
I think when it comes to like some of the stuff, it's amazing because glyphosate can disrupt so many things. And when we're talking about wheat, with it being on wheat, it was really shocking. I found some research that showed that, if someone has celiac, it's not truly a wheat issue. It is a transglutaminase issue, right? And so when that wheat gets into the body, the immune response, and then you have this transglutaminase that kind of attached to the wheat. And when the immune system is going after that, it creates a complex to it. And people have celiacs having this massive immune response. It depends on the transglutaminase, right? So there's 2 and 8 are the main ones for celiacs, but 3 is to the skin, 6 is to the cerebellum. So it's like, what they found with glyphosate is it can trigger transglutaminase activity without wheat.
Wow.
So people can have full-on cerebellar ataxia. They can have diabetes because it damages the islet cells in the pancreas. They can get skin issues like eczema or psoriasis, and then they can also get all the gut destruction. Just glyphosate, and it can on labs it'll look like it's glyphosate, or it looks like it's going to be wheat, and they're not. It can be a person who has celiacs of any of those sorts.
Yeah.
But have wheat and any cross-reactive grain completely eliminated from their diet, and they can trigger it if they get exposed to glyphosate.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And the hard thing about this too is, that study that was released, I think 3 or 4 years ago, of all the vineyards in California, even the biodynamic, the organic vineyards, there's glyphosate in organic food in virtually every crop you pull out of California. I mean, that is some of the most lush, high producing land in the entire world, and we've devastated it with glyphosate. It's crazy.
It is. It's so amazing. And what's when it comes to like trying to identify, the disruption that it's caused in the body, has there been anything consistently? Because this can affect so many things across the board. From we know it alters the microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
It can cause people to say chelates. One of the ways that we found that it interferes with the microbiome is it chelates manganese, and your neurotransmitter producing bacteria, the lactobacillus and the bifidobacteria, they rely on manganese. So when it chelates manganese on top of all the other minerals, it like affects every mineral.
Yeah.
But it alters the composition of the lactobacillus and the bifidobacteria. So we know it does that. We know it can affect all the mineral composition. It affects butyrate and how we process methionine and any of our sulfurs like glutathione. But I'm wondering, like, outside of, and we can talk about that in a second, is the some of the physical manifestations people talk about, their symptomatic aspect. But has there been anything consistently on labs or just in the discussions that you've had with patients that you find like, oh, that's probably glyphosate?
That's glyphosate. Well, first of all, I used to look for specifics, and then I realized like it's just, I just plan on it being everywhere, and so we're addressing it. But anytime you see alkaline phosphatase would be like your number one marker that I would look at, looking at any kind of leaky gut, intestinal permeability. Look at your white blood cells. That can be an issue. And then even ALT and AST, that can even show up with glyphosate exposure. And then, in the gut, once again, it would be nice if there was something that was more concrete. This is glyphosate, but anytime you see dysbiosis, anytime you see metabolic imbalances, I'm always thinking glyphosate. And then you go to the cytochrome P450 in the liver. And so if you see elevation of homocysteine, elevation of ferritin, it's pretty good chance that they may have some glyphosate toxicity. As far as symptoms go, well, what else? We'll stick on labs, but what else do you see in there, Dan?
Well, I think the homocysteine, that just won't go down even with B12 and folate supplementation. I know that we know that there's a bunch of other, drivers that'll interfere with it. And there can be some liver stuff going on. There can also be like a magnesium deficiency because of the transcobalamin. But if someone has like a homocysteine that just won't go down, or the methionine, if you're measuring methionine and the methionine is staying elevated, I typically, I'm like, okay, that's, we'll start using, some like Z binder or something to start to detoxify the glyphosate, because that seems to be the thing that I see the most.
Man. Well, and one of the studies, I don't know when it was published, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, when they tested glyphosate, 93% of Americans tested positive for glyphosate. So that was when I took a step back, and that it was, I think if you go to EcoWatch, I'll look it up. But when I saw that, I was just like, well, it's game over. Like everybody's exposed, but it's just, how severe is it? And this is where, do you do any how much do you do on genetics these days, Dan? Are you running any particular genetic profiles or looking at their methylation pathways? You put much emphasis on that anymore?
No, we'll still look at it. We'll look at we'll look at COMT, MTR, MTRR, and MTHFR.
Yeah.
If someone will run, I think those are the main things as far as genetics. Unless I have somebody who has an issue with like platelets staying super low, we'll run a marker there. And other than that, if somebody has their 23andMe, we'll take that raw data and run it up against like Strategene or Found My Fitness. We'll use her database.
Cool.
But that's about it. I mean, what are you looking at?
Yeah, that's the same. I mean, we used to run it through the Cell Sciences. We just run their methylation profile. We'll do that now through metabolomics. We'll just look at some of those major like MTHFR alleles and see if there's any polymorphisms. But in general, I think that's something that can contribute to it. I know my glyphosate exposure. That's actually why I'm here today, is thanks to glyphosate. Made me super sick. But as I looked into it, I found that I had those polymorphisms in multiple channels. And so here's actually that study where I've got it. So if you go to EcoWatch, and I'll post this in the chat box for everybody so you can look at that. So this was 2016, glyphosate found in the urine of 93% of Americans tested. So
Hey everybody, Regan Archibald here. I hope you enjoyed the Go Wellness show and maybe learned a couple things you could apply to your practice. If you're a healthcare entrepreneur who wants to work in an academic think tank with like-minded humans who are just like you, looking to provide better service, better quality of care for your patients, reach us at info@gowellness.com and we're happy to do a free practice analysis for you.